Good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome on to Empathetic Educators. I am so excited to have our guest on the show today. Let's get ourselves started. I'm just so excited to have you on the show today and our guest on the show today. I've taken a couple of weeks just for myself because some big life changes happened and I'm very, very excited about that. So I took a little time just to enjoy that. But yeah, so I'm back and we're back all together. And I'm really excited to have you on the show today talking about systems. So if you are listening in, if you are watching in, then just let us know in the comments and give us a little shout out to where you are in the world. Just a little recap on Empathetic Educators and what it's all about. This is our Empathetic Educators tree of life. So we have our seeds based in neuroscience, empathy, relationships, design, and psychology. And then that feeds into the roots of Empathetic Educators. So growth, relationships, accountability. And this season is all about systems and then challenge and perspectives. And that weaves then into the flourishing of curiosity, collaboration, confidence and communication, comprehension, creativity, and critical thinking. So we're touching upon all those different things, but we're focusing on systems today with our fabulous guest. So without further ado, I'm going to get our fabulous guest on the show. Welcome to the show, Barbara Bray. Welcome.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. And I mean, you just said something you didn't tell me.
I know. Well, I've kept it a little bit quiet, not too quiet, but yeah. So we've taken a couple of weeks off for celebrating and just enjoying life. So yeah, it was a big shock. So
congratulations!
Nice
That's wonderful. We were talking earlier about, all the things moving and all that, and so that was wonderful.
Yeah, all the changes in life. So yeah, that's one of the changes that happened. So yeah,
that's wonderful.
Thank you, Barbara. So it's really good to have you on the show. Like I said, I was talking to you before. I was a bit of a fangirling whenever you said yes to come on the show because I've been following your work for so many years and it's really impacted, especially your guide towards individualization and personalization and all those different terms. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Maybe give a little introduction to yourself and let our viewers know who you are.
Oh, well, thank you, Naomi. It's well, I am Barbara Bray. I'm you can see it's Bray 27. I've been on Twitter, and that's how I met you, I think, on Twitter. And I've been on Twitter since right from the beginning, I think, 2007, for a long time. And I worked on I see Stephanie there, so that's cool. I love her. Yes. So I have been working on personalized learning for a long time. I started way before it was a term. I did that in my teaching and when I worked with teachers, I always felt that if you don't own the learning, it's just not going to happen. So I co-authored 2 books on personalized learning, and it's Make Learning Personal and How to Personalize Learning. And some of the charts that you mentioned, I've actually updated a lot of the things. So we'll probably talk about that also. So in fact, what led to that is I was working on when we did those books, we were starting with the what. And then I realized if you don't know your why, you're not going to get to your what. So I started working on the why, but I had to change the book and the charts, and that led to my latest book, which is Define Your Why. So that's kind of the direction I'm going, but I'm doing a lot more, and I'll be able to share it with you today. And look at all the wonderful people that are here.
People coming on. So we've got Stephanie coming on. Love seeing you 2 together. Look at her little cute little Google photograph on there.
Yeah. Oh, she's darling.
Lauren coming on. Hi, Lauren. And Keisha's doing I love
Keisha.
I know. She's
aloha.
And she'll be coming back on as well. Keep recording. And we've got Liz Freeman coming on, saving to watch tomorrow.
Yes, that's wonderful.
And already Barbara Bray's already got, if you don't own the learning, it's just not going to happen. You've already given takeaways in your introduction. Well done.
Keisha's like
So
that.
excited.
What's really nice is we've done reflections and we've done a lot of things together. And every time I'm with her, I learn. And Stephanie and I have done some sharing and learning. And it's just, to me, I'm constantly learning from everyone. And that's maybe what personalized learning is what do you get out of it? And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think like that's exactly why I was so excited to have you on the show today, because that's what the idea of systems for the topic of systems, the theme of systems for this year, like this topic is, it's so important to look into those areas and see how we can actually support each other and go deeper. And that's what I love about your work, is actually deep diving into those areas. So we're just going to give a little shout out to Erica Sandstrom, because obviously one of our amazing supporters. We love working with Erica, and she's created her little my hashtag my breathing bubble with her learners, and I love to use this at the start of our work, because it just gets us into the moment, and it helps me, especially in the morning, get myself set up and get myself ready. So it's just a bit of time for our audience members and for us, just to give it a little minute to yourself, practice those breathing techniques. And I just notice, even in those that minute, my whole body changes and just like becomes more relaxed. So just give yourself a little minute just to take part in this today. So I hope you enjoy.
I love that she had the dogs and the cats.
I know. How cute. Literally love it. Her work. I just love her work. And so I love connecting with Erica as well. Like, so people have asked where you can find it. I've put the link onto her learning, and you actually just use that video, or she has other types of videos. So they have like flyers or different things that you might want to watch as you're doing your breathing. So yeah, I just feel very
nice and relaxed now.
Yes.
Yeah. Erica has been teaching me how to do green screens, so she has one with me and her that's really fun. So
I'll have to look at that one. Yeah, I'll put that in the link below. Yeah,
we'll share that.
Yeah. So let's get started on with it. We have Shannon coming on as well. Hello, Shannon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, coming on. And it's just really nice to have like all these different people, like you say, connections. That's probably what I enjoy the most about Twitter and about that. It's helped me through this COVID year, especially being able to see all the different places and see all the different people, and when we can't travel. And so I think like that kind of ties into the first question that we're going to be looking at, is about like that personal side of you and the personal side of people, that actually what we go through in life. And that's why I love, even about the start of your book, you're saying define your why, is actually you share your why and like your backstory to where you've come from. And I'll put the little quote up for you that I loved from it. It says, I became the shy, quiet girl back in class. I felt like I didn't belong there. And before that, you were sharing why that happened and how that happened and all those interactions that you had. So can you share your experience with school, and then relate it to the question, please share your experience with personalization and how you feel it impacts learning. So let us know.
Well, some people say you weren't shy. I said, yes, I was. I had a first grade teacher who, unfortunately, we didn't get along very well, and there was no connection. And I was told that I had to be quiet and follow along and be it got to the point where it was better for me to just do school to get through it, but I didn't do well. I just was trying to not get in trouble, because I got in a lot of trouble because I kept asking questions and that wasn't allowed then. And it happened all the way through for a long, long time in my, I grew up in Maryland, and the school's great school. It's just, for me, I realized school itself, the system, didn't work for me. And let me see, I think I did have a few teachers that really tried to connect to me, but I would sit in the back, not raise my hand. I'd be really quiet. And some people weren't nice to me because I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't believe in me. And then I graduated from high school, moved to California, and it was the day after I graduated, which really sucks, by the way. You have all your parties, you have all everything. I was going to go to the University of Maryland, all the things, and then my family moved out here, but it turned out good. I ended up going to a community college, and the first English teacher I had read a poem I wrote and said, "This is amazing." And I said, "Really? You like it?" He says, "I want you to read it to the quad, to other people." And everyone clapped and loved it. And then he said, "I think you should submit it to a contest." And I won. But it was like somebody believed in me. Somebody listened to me, and I had a voice. So fast forward, I said I was going to be a teacher. I was going to find a way to change that so my students have a voice. And I did that, and I taught. Other teachers didn't like it because there's so much noise going in that class. Mrs. Bray, they're laughing all the time and all that kind of stuff. And finally, the district said, "You need to come downtown and teach the other teachers how to do it." So it kind of evolved. And that's kind of where, how I came up with the idea of, you got to build the relationships first. You got to get to know the kids. You got to know their names, how to pronounce them right. You got to give them time. All of those things I was doing is kind of led to personalized learning later.
I think what I love about, like, what my takeaway was from your book as well, I've been thinking a lot about, like, teachers, we do have to open doors for children and, like, open the gates for them. But sometimes we actually just have to not close the gates. So, like, you're changing yourself towards like how you were. So you were this outgoing person, because of how you were treated, it made you close. And I think that's what I've been thinking about as well, is how can we, yes, open the gates and, like, and make learners ready for it, but also how can we help learners not close them by our reactions towards them. Because that's what Shannon said as well. She said, "I used to be super shy too. Now I don't think shy would be a word that individuals use to describe me." And it's like, it's so weird how like your environments change how you respond and how you act and how you do things. And I think that's what I love about the personalization side of it. And I think the differences between the two. So I hope I have the updated, because you sent me the updated version from your website, and this is the updated version that you do share on your website. So I've put the link to this actually in the show notes as well, so people who are listening or watching, they can see that and go more deep into it. And I think for me, it really, go ahead.
Do you want me just to explain a little bit about it?
Beautiful.
Because the other chart, the PDI chart, which was personalization, differentiation, individualization, and we made a New Zealand version, also with S and everything. The thing that we found is teachers with the other one were really upset that, does that mean whole class is bad? Am I what I'm doing is wrong? Can't I differentiate? What about it? So the way I needed to get a focus group, and I had a lot from New Zealand, by the way. And if you look at the original chart, the PDI chart, we use words like Carnegie unit, and that's not something that is used in New Zealand and other countries. So we needed to make it generic. We need to make it and bring whole class. And the way that I use this with teachers is take one lesson and circle with one color where you are reaching, using this in your lesson. Then where do you want to go with another color? Maybe if we want to, adapt the lesson and circle that. And then in another color, where can you let kids lead or take over, have, you can let go. And some of them said they could let go and have kids on some parts lead the whole class. You see, it's like this chart can be adapted and changed, but I was trying to find a way that you could use it so you can actually see how you can change instruction and you can change the environment and the culture and all of that.
And I think like the whole class, like you say, the whole class treats the same instruction. Sometimes I think for me, trying to explore that in my teaching, sometimes that can be okay. Do you know, like you can do that with your learners, but it's what does it look like and what's the purpose of what you're actually doing? And I think like you say, when can we give learners more voice? When can we give learners the decision making part of it? And so can you maybe go into like personalization? What does that mean to you, and what like maybe the difference is between maybe one or the other pillars?
Well, personalization from both this chart and the other chart is basically the learners own the learning and they drive it. That means the teacher is more of a co-learner and working with maybe more like the guide on the side that we talk about. But that isn't always how we work in the classroom, especially now with COVID and we were using Zoom. Here's the teacher in front of the room again, How do you change it now if you're doing virtual and hybrid and back face-to-face? So this chart could be adapted for all of that.
I think what I like about like the learners build a network. So in the support system and then in personalization, learners build a network of teachers, peers, mentors, and advisors to support learning. Because I think that's what I've been finding with some of the conversations is yes, but what is the teacher role? And so it's not that we just say like step back and say, go ahead, go and do whatever you want and go do whatever you do and go do all that. Like, like that's like, obviously that's not like a misconception between what like personalization could be, but it's more about the learners get different support. And it's acknowledging that learners come with their own information, they come with their own talents, and come with their own things that they can do, and then going from there and bringing them into the conversation instead of just you sit there and you do what I think you should do. It's more of a co-constructed conversation, which I really like about that support part of it. Learners, build it.
There's also other areas where you can have under assessment, because I think that's one of the biggest things is if you give them voice, even if you're leading it, if you make them co-learners or co-developers of the assessment, they can even do student-led conferences. And that's hard for us because teachers are, the amount of pressures on them to get the curriculum, pacing guides and things that they have to meet and the standards and now the tests. I think that we got to embrace grace for teachers. And so I tell them, just take one lesson and just see what you can do with one and then see if that works. If it doesn't work, bring the chart up, ask the kids what they would do different and see if they can help you design it. It's really amazing. Kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for.
It is, and they have so many. My big whenever I give them voice is like the creative side of what they bring, like the fun side of it. That's like the fun element that they can make it into the fun part, but we're still doing the learning side of it, like you say, because we have as teachers we know we have so much to get through, so much to do, and sometimes you want to just get through it rather than talking about what it is. But I think what I've noticed as well, because my learners at the minute are 100% multilingual. So we have like all different, because I'm in Japan, obviously. So their first language, most of them is Japanese. And then they're learning English or they have Korean and they have and I'm just like mesmerized by how much they have that like they're trying to manage in their brains and trying to acknowledge. But I think as well, those little scaffolds are really important. So like the student conversations that we do have, but I have little sentence starters for them to actually be able to communicate and have that together. So it's not that I'm just saying to them, go and just talk about your learning. It's about those little support systems as well, like about how we put that there to set them up for success when they are having conversations too.
Well, that's wonderful because that's our job. If we do it like that right now, if all you hear is your voice, that's who's doing the learning. I mean, they get tired of it. Just imagine. So if you're there to support them and nudge them and, encourage them and empower them, And when maybe learn with them, they might know something and help you. I've learned that. I was in a pre-K class, and someone said, one of the kids, little ones, said something. I went, "What is that?" And they were like, "You don't know? Let me show you." And I'm like, "Oh, so you can
I think
learn." Yeah.
that's the cool thing about like people say like to teach is to learn twice. And I really do agree
Yeah.
with that. Like you really see the learners actually like they're going over, and then sometimes whenever they have mistakes in their own thinking, they see it whenever they're trying to teach them and they're like, oh, that can't be right because that's not
Yeah.
working. And then that helps them like actually check their own learning too. So it's that and I think that's what I'm really trying to advocate for at the minute is it's not that we're just saying learners talk, 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 talk. It's actually what are they talking about? How are we helping them have those conversations?
Mm-hmm.
How are we scaffolding the experience that they can then? And exactly what Shannon just said. I'm working on not over scaffolding. So it's like giving that time between like yes, you're giving them voice, but like that's all you talk about. That's all you talk about. You want to give them that openness towards it too. But like I love what you say about take each lesson at a time because like that gives it a little bit of hope, and then you can see oh
Mm-hmm.
where can I transfer that into somewhere else, a little bit of hope. Oh, where can that look like, what can it look like? That's quite nice. I really
Mm-hmm.
like that. I really like that approach.
Well, the other thing is that if you try to do too much, you're
Mm,
just going to fail. It's just you already have too much on your plate. So if you take something that a lesson you really like, but you know that you need to let go a little bit, this is where you can open up and ask your students and any age, where would you see your voice in here?
mm,
And it's amazing how some students say, "No, you're the teacher, you do it," because they've already learned compliance, how to be compliant.
yeah.
But you're trying to slowly change all of you, all
Mm.
of the community and the culture and everything, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. No, and I love that. Like, I put that visual in because, like you say, it's really nice to like. Obviously, people can reach out to you and see how they can use it and talk to you about what it could look like in their classroom. But I really love the way it does. Kind of like, where am I at? The same way with the
Yeah.
learners, it's helping us. It's giving us a language.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about your work is it really gives us as teachers a language to communicate to each other and talk about. Oh, this is where I'm at now, and where can I get to, and what could it look like? Why am I doing that, and what could it look like? Do I still want to do that? Because I
Yeah.
think as well the whole group part of it, I don't do it as much because in my group they don't understand English. So if I'm only talking English to them, they're just like, "What is she on about? Why is she talking in front of the front of the table to us?" So they don't get very far. But like, yeah, there's a need for some and there's a need for others. So it's what's the purpose behind it too. So
Oh, I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's thank you so much for that takeaway. And it's really cool. Thank you so much for the people involved as well, because it's so good having those people involved in the chat too. We have Stephanie coming and revamp, remove training wheels. We have students make the rubric. I love it.
Oh,
Remove the training
Stephanie,
wheels.
I know she does that too. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that voice, like she was on with the show, the Empathetic Educators, a couple of months ago, and the idea of relationships just
Mm-hmm.
comes out of everything that she talks about. Is like how can we meet the learners where they are? How can we see what they are bringing to the table as well? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's so good to have all us learning from each other in that space too.
Oh, yes.
And I think going on to the question too, I love obviously the empathy piece of what you do. I think I've put the link onto the website on your website too. It says on your website you
Mm-hmm.
have resources that support your book. In chapter 7, it's entitled "Why Have Empathy for You," and
Mm-hmm.
I love the way you've actually broken down your book, and you have little like scaffolds. So if people want to have book reviews or book conversations,
Mm-hmm.
it's a really active book that you can really take away and talk about and use, and like you say, have those conversations, because that's how like the learners, whenever they're talking, they're learning, but whenever we're talking, we're learning together too. So the question is, how do you develop empathy for yourself instead of focusing on problems that keep you from moving forward? What does it look like for you? And yeah, why is that important?
Well, I wrote this in my book, and when COVID came, my book came out right before, and then all my book signings, everything went, it's canceled, and I had keynotes and workshops and everything. And I started, let's just say I started getting really depressed and sad. And I took out my book and I said, I need to read this chapter again and have empathy for me. I needed to do, so I have a section in there on what is stress. And stress is, it's when you're feeling down. You can't really, it's like you have too much going on, but you can't really move on because you're just not sure where to go. And I was starting to feel like that, but I was also starting to feel burned out. And I talk about the difference about burning out is where, what did I have that in my book? It was actually one section where I said stress, let's see. Excessive stress is like drowning in responsibilities, and burnout is like being all dried up. I mean, that sounds terrible, but
not nice places to be, but it's good visuals.
I felt like all dried up. I was like starting to get there. And then I was hearing from teachers telling me how bad it was for them and how sad. And so I did a reflection. I did a podcast with myself.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's all about this. And I was talking about how I could find myself again. And what are some of the things I can do? And that one thing was getting rid of all the I call it mindful versus mindful, like what Erica was doing. I had it so full of this chatter telling me that life is miserable. I'm not going to make it, like that. It was going. And I said, I got to stop that chatter. So I did something similar to what she did, but I learned this where I smell the rose and I blow out the candle. And I have these all over the house. So I just want to, sometimes you need to stop. The other thing I did is I got out my gratitude jar. And I write a note every day. And then the end of the week, I reach inside and look at it. And I have several jars. I haven't gotten rid of, I have some of the same thing that I write a lot, when it's the birds are singing, the sun is shining, and a lot of things like that. But, it's just trying to look at the positive side.
And I think it's like that. Like, I love all those takeaways. Like it's so funny. You talk about learners using your vocabulary. We actually had I never heard of breathing in the roses and smelling the roses and blowing out the candles. And I actually had a kindergarten learner say that to me one day. And I was like,
it's not mine. It's not mine.
Yeah. But it's it wasn't because I was stressed. She actually was just telling me how she does things. She's like, yeah. Smell the roses and blow out those candles, little 4-year-old. And I was like, it's so beautiful. like you can use it at any age, and it just it means so much. That's why the breathing bubble, I love that, is that breathing part. But I think you're talking about as well, it's that perspectives on life. Because I was the same. In my first year teaching, my brain was just on fire, constantly just attacking myself. Just no one else was saying as bad of stuff as what I was saying to me. And that's what I realized, that perspective piece is taking a step back and saying, is that actually what's going on for me? Is it? Okay, well, then how can we deal with it? Or is it not actually the thing that's going on? And I'm just making it worse and worse and worse by thinking all those negative thoughts. So it's really cool because gratitude, I love the idea that gratitude actually changes. You can rewire the brain with gratitude, having perspectives, looking at different things a different way, accepting what you do have. And that idea.
Let me just go. Recently, I've been teachers and librarians and other educators have been reaching out to me because they're stressed, because they're not sure. I mean, COVID has changed so much, and they're not sure how they're going to move on if they're feeling this way. And so I've been taking some of the activities and also learning some things by working one-on-one with some teachers. And I talked, Sunday, I talked with one of the educators, and she said, it helped me to stop and really think about why I'm like this. And I had her look at some of the different reasons why she was stressed out. And is it real? Because sometimes it's that fear. Sometimes your the expectations appear real. You're facing expectations that are not there, and you're making it worse than it is. And so that's what happened to her. And so sometimes we need another person to bounce off ideas. So I'm so glad I can do that. with some people, I also need people myself to help me. It's just that way. We're here for each other.
I think it's like taking that leap of faith that you can trust people to actually hold that for you, because sometimes it is a bit vulnerable to actually share that you're feeling that, and you don't know why you're feeling. Sometimes you don't even know why you're feeling it too, because there's, like you say, like you're swimming in all those thoughts, and you're feeling that stress, and you don't know why you're in that. And be able to having that too. So it's like, yeah. So Shannon says, like, I did 100 days of joy, the Joy Project with Adobe Spark, where I discovered one small moment of joy each day. It really helped me in the beginning of the shutdown. And I think, yeah, like you said, like that gratitude jar. I write in a journal, and like it's all those little things. Like at the end of the day, I just write in a journal what went well, what I not really like, and like it like you say, it brings you into the reality of what's actually happening, not what you are picturing happening. It's actually trying to figure out what's going on. Is it real, or is it just in my head? And then, like Stephanie said, thought partners change lives. Just bouncing ideas, having people to reach out to, and taking that step.
And she's great at that. And Shannon, she's sharing a lot of great ideas. I love this.
Yeah, Jan's got a fantastic they've got the three caffeinated coaches they're working on at the minute, and they've got some fantastic things going on. I think that's all it is. Like, I think that looking back at me, I don't think I could have changed the way I was in my first year, but I would just be kind to yourself, but also embrace the challenge. So like, I think there's two things I've learned about what I'm doing is the more challenges I've faced, the more I've grown as a person. And I think those challenges actually have made me more stronger and more better. But it's like that balance between, yes, embrace the challenge, but also be kind to yourself. Like, it's those two things at the time. And I haven't got the answer right yet, but that's what I'm trying to balance at the minute is like,
Can I say, there's one thing in my book that actually my husband told me, and it's not from him, but I was really challenged one day, and I was so upset, and he said, do you think this could be a lesson and a blessing? Maybe it's a blessing. And I'm like, oh gosh, because it's my husband. But he's right. Sometimes you can learn a lot from the things that challenge you.
Yeah, and it's just like it goes back to perspective again. It's like sometimes you can't see it when you're in it. Like I couldn't see it when I was actually in it, but looking back at all the things I was going through in those years, I was actually really happy that they happened to me. I wouldn't change it now, even though I was stressed and I was in a muddle and all those things, because they've put me on the path that I'm on now. So it's all those balancing techniques. So like it's cool. Thank you so much for sharing all those takeaways, Barbara, because it's really real practical things that we can bring into our teaching and our lessons and our thinking now. Yeah. Oh, okay, good.
We were having a little glitch there.
we're back in. Okay. And we'll move on to like the question number 3. So like I said at the start, you really do model being a learner. You've gone through all different ups and downs, roller coasters, you share them so vulnerably as well. And I use, as an educator, a podcaster, your Twitter chats, I've learned so much from you while you're learning yourself. And that's like, it's so cool to see you on your journey and like help me on my journey too. And it says you had some amazing guests on your podcast and spoke to many people all around the world. And so what are some tips that you've heard or experienced along the way as you've been talking to different people or going to different places? What have you,
Oh, well, I've learned so much. I've been doing this now. Let's see, I think it's now on to 4 years. And so I'm just going to go back to one of the first ones was Tom Murray. Which was number 12. That's way long ago. And I mean, I've learned a lot since then. But one thing he did was he kept saying my name. So he would say, Barbara. And then I would stop and I go, oh, so I got to listen more. And, and so I learned that it's really important to say our names. And that helped me. It was a tip. So sometimes if you don't listen closely, your mind is going to what you're going to say next. And that helped me. Another thing is I just put up 115, which is kind of podcast. And that's with Juliana Tafur, who I was a mentor at South by Southwest. And she was one of the people who wanted me to mentor. And I'm like, really? She's a director and a filmmaker. And yeah, she's not she is an educator in some sorts, because she created an unbelievable documentary that got to put the link up because she's going to be doing sharing it out and doing a workshop on it. But it's all about listening courageously and listening to other people with other sides of the coin, like on gun control, abortion, and immigration. And how do you talk to people you don't agree with? You know, how do you do that? So this documentary was amazing. Her story is amazing. And that helped me just, if I can find people who are doing things like that are, let's say that we don't even know about, I'm able to share. And that's some of the things that I've been learning. And the other that I'm just going to, because I have so many here, I got to be careful because we go way over. But I'm also doing reflections. I started those when COVID happened, because the first one was me crying, like, oh my gosh, we're all in a worldwide pandemic, and what are we going to do? And, you know, and other people going, oh my God, if Barbara's like all crazy, I don't know if I can do it. Like, I said, I better put something else up because it was crazy. But I did some that I'm really proud of, because I needed to do reflections around controversial subjects. So I did one with Hedrick Nichols around systemic racism, and the two of us put together a post with it that has scenarios that you could, if certain scenarios happen, here's some things you can do and not do. You know, and here are some books, here's some resources. And then she took off and started doing small bites and, you know, doing all these so many amazing things from there. But it was a great start for me to go to start talking about systemic racism. And then Reflection 12 is with Dr. Basil Marin and JT Taylor, all about it's now is the time to disrupt the status quo. Ooh, it was like we were on my porch talking, and some of it I was like, wow, this is good. You know, because we can actually, if we can have these really deep conversations, other people will see it's okay to do it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, learning so much.
I'm so excited to go back and listen to some of those sessions. Because you have so many great takeaways on like all your different places. So I think like I love the idea of listening courageously, because I think that's what I'm thinking about recently as well, is there's so many different perspectives people have, and they have like all different things, and some people that's their reality, and just because we think one thing doesn't mean that you think what you think is wrong, but also what we think, how can we find some common ground to just have those conversations together and being a learner, like I said in that question, like you're such a learner you're so open towards all those different possibilities. What do I think right now, and could it be different after this conversation? Like being open to the curiosity of the question that you're asking. And yeah, so it's so fun. I think like you say, you could talk about all the different things, like all the learnings that you have done. But I'll put the links up for some of those, because I can edit the show notes as well. So if people are listening, I'll put some of those links into the things that you have said too.
Well, Keisha's on, and Keisha and I did a reflection on mental health. And she's amazing. I especially when I needed it then. And so she was just very kind and really open and sharing some of the resources that I needed. And I was able to, it opened some doors for me. So sometimes you're fortunate to meet people that come in at just the right time when you need them. And that's kind of what's happened to me. And then like you, you're so funny. I mean, where to go? You know, the thing that you sent me? I know where to get it.
Panda! Where's your panda?
Maybe I dropped it. But you know, you're just so kind, and we've been really lucky to connect this way. And you even gave me a mask, which I love. And I have a panda somewhere, but I must have dropped it. Maybe it's in here anyway. But I was showing it to you early.
It. Yeah,
I do have it, but it's somewhere around here.
But that's at the minute. He's camera shy. He doesn't want to come on. So
I'll find it as soon as, you know. Yeah. But also with, you know, I found there are people like Keisha introduced me to Celeste Dendo, who is amazing in Hawaii, and we're working together on a book. I mean, you never know what's going to open a door. It's so,
I love that
Amazing.
though, because Lauren's on the show as well, because Keisha as well. Like it's just like it's so amazing to have all these people. And like Lauren has said about the challenges, but that's the same. We just were doing that. We just did a blog about the power of the hashtag, and I think that's what like we came across each other because I was looking for people who were interested in George Couros' book, and then we crossed paths, and then like that changed my life now forever, meeting her. And the same as like Steph, like we met in Singapore whenever I was doing like the Innovators
I
project,
didn't
and like
know that.
yeah, like it's just like I haven't like she's my Wonder Woman. Like I
I
literally look
gotta
at
find.
her, I'm like, you are fabulous. And like it's and then like Keisha as well. Like she had Perspective Panda in Oakland.
I can't. I just showed it to
I
you.
know
That
you
is the
did.
weirdest thing.
He
Must
must
have
have
dropped it.
failed.
I must have dropped it. Anyway, and
Yeah, and
then
like
Lauren just said something about Tom and Ken Shelton. Ken Shelton was on my show. Ken I've known for 25 years, and he's like episode 19, so he's long ago. And he opened the door to me to some on equity and storytelling. And I really wanted to do more storytelling. And he has been such a good friend of mine for so long. And yeah, he has to push the equity. And so this is where all of us need to learn, especially now, especially since we've exposed, COVID has exposed so many inequities. I'm hoping this will change things.
Yeah, I think it comes back to like that challenge is like how can we like be, because like you're saying like you being vulnerable with Keisha, but like how you were feeling vulnerable, and that opened doors towards what you were doing in the future. Like all those vulnerabilities open doors. So like it goes back to the idea of is it a lesson, or what was it? What did your partner?
It's a bless. It's a blessing and a lesson. A blessing.
Blessing.
It actually, I can send you it was done by Karen Samonson is her name, but my husband told me about it first, and I thought he knew. I thought he was so smart. I thought he came up with it.
But it's like how can we have just like that little perspective on what we're going through at the minute? Is it going to teach us something? Is it going to connect us to something bigger than what we didn't know was going to happen in the first place? It's like, yeah, it's sometimes hard to do, but if we can help each other go through that together, then it's it's really, really good to have. So I'm going to put up your every week, every person comes on, we have the Global Light Unite. So we're trying to just, because we can't travel at the minute, we're trying to get some perspectives from all around the world. And yeah, so you're part of the world. I love these flyers, they're so beautiful. And I can't believe this. Yeah, tell us a little bit about where this is.
Well, I moved to Oakland. We bought our house 45 years ago. We have half an acre, and this is our garden. We also have vegetables and fruit trees, and we have half an acre. And I am so fortunate to live in a place that a lot of people don't know. They hear Oakland, they think it's a dangerous place. There's so much bad things going on there. It is a diverse community, lovely people who care about each other. And what is nice is that we all share our gardens, we share what we're doing, but we're diverse even on our street. And the weather is perfect. It's almost, I don't even want to tell some people because they get all upset when I say, oh, it's 75 here when it's 20 below in South Dakota or something. But it is a beautiful place, and I'm very fortunate.
It's so beautiful. I love it. And I do your panda. It's such a shame it's camera shy, because you sent me a photograph when you got it.
Okay,
because,
I'm going to look. I am going to look. You and I just had it. I must have taken it over somewhere. Oh, there it is. I found him. He fell out. He was stuck here, in here. There he is.
Perspective Panda.
Yay.
You find him. I love it. That's like so cute. Yeah, because you sent me a photograph of you being in the garden with your Perspective Panda. So cute.
Oh, yes. Yes. I think I have some. Oh, I had him upside down. There he is.
How cute. There you go. What did you call? Did you name yours? What did you call yours?
Oh, I had a name, and then it just didn't sound right. So I got to come up with a new one. Okay, let me think about it.
Yeah. We have some other names. We have I'm going to Percy somewhere, and we have Priscilla and all. Priscilla, the Perspective Panda. I think we have.
Well, see, I was going to do Yuki, but that's because Celeste told me that's what she's going to use for her character, so that wouldn't work because I have to come up with something new. Because I just thought since he came, is it a he or a she, or can I make it a she?
You do whatever you
Anything
need.
I want.
Do
All right,
whatever you want.
I get to play. I get to play.
A bit of fun, and it's been so fun to have you on the show as well, Barbara. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your pieces of wisdom and all the things you have mentioned. I've put it in the show notes, so if you're listening or if you're watching, you can actually take part in that too. So we have some great people coming on the show. We had Steph and Keisha and Debbie, and look, Debbie, beautiful from the show as well. So
oh, Debbie. Hi, Debbie. I saw her come in and I just didn't say hi yet, but that's and Stephanie's going to come over because she's not too far away.
No, yeah, we better have some social distance fun for a while. So thank you so much.
Debbie said, call him Blessing.
He's a blessing.
He's my blessing. And Keisha knows about Fenton's. Fenton's is the best ice cream parlor in ever. And Keisha, what show is he? It was a movie. Fenton's was in a movie. Do you remember? It was just a recent one. Anyway,
I've heard of that one.
Fenton's, yes. It's
Keisha might come in and might let us know. But I was going to put up the show because we have actually talking about all perspectives in the end of our show. We actually have so we have you, Barbara Bray, but then at the end of the season we have Barbara Oakley coming on the show talking about learning how to learn and going a bit deeper into these conversations. And we have Lauren Kaufman coming on. So I'm going to be sending out this link onto Twitter as well. So at the end of every season we have surprise guests coming on. And you can ask Barbara Oakley some questions too. So if you're interested in coming on and asking Barbara Oakley some questions, myself and Lauren will be co-hosting that on the 8th and 9th of May, depending on where you are in the world. And those times are all correct on the visual. I got it right now, not with our visual. So I'll put that on Twitter so people can come on to the show and ask Barbara Oakley some questions. So that's happening in a couple of weeks' time, which I'm really excited about. So just continuing the conversation that we're having and making links towards what you're doing too. So thank you so much, Barbara, for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us.
I can't wait to see. Are you only having Barbaras on right now?
I know. I was going to say, I was going to find some more Barbaras. Need to get some. I love the name. I was like, oh, I need to make sure I'm calling Barbara Bray and Barbara Oakley. I need to make sure I'm getting you say, names are so important. So I need to make sure I'm doing the right thing. But so thank you so much for coming on, Barbara. And I'm really happy to have you. And anyone listening, anyone letting us know what your takeaways were. Hashtag empathetic_educators or hashtag rethink_learn with Barbara Bray as well. So some fantastic things going on. Thank you for everyone in the conversation, and thank you, Barbara, for coming on the show.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Naomi. This was wonderful.
Bye.
Bye.